Welcome, everyone, to the Completely Unnecessary Podcast. Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022. Ian Ferguson is on location at remote spot right now recording, but I'm Pat Contry here in the studio. On the show today, we'll be talking about the Sega Genesis Mini 2 lineup, the Sunsoft event. We're talking about the top Super Nintendo games, a list from journalist Seth Abramson. Also some voicemails back to there. Ian spoke about his heroic pinball efforts recently, and I spoke about my Dollar Tree adventure, including finding Battleship Color Forms version. Get all the deets on the exclusive Patreon podcast that we do every week, patreon.com/CU podcast. Other than that, Ian, how are things going?
I mean, they're going. We talked a little bit about the pinball tournament I played in. Life has been kind of stressful, so I've been playing more pinball just to kind of clear my head. But I did big news. Our buddies over at Too High Labs released a new game last week.
That's right.
Curse to Golf.
That's right.
And I've been looking forward to this game for quite some time. And I got it, and it's fantastic. It's kind of not roguelike isn't exactly the right word for it, because it's not all randomly generated, but it's a golf game with constantly changing holes, and basically you just have to hit it to the goal within a certain amount of hits. But there's all sorts of traps in the way, and it's a 2D game. It plays on a side view, so it's not the usual overhead golf. You're basically navigating the golf ball through platforming levels, and you have to do it in a certain number of shots. And it's incredibly addicting. The very first time I saw the idea when Liam was kind of just, he basically made like a little proof of concept game.
Okay.
And from the first time I saw it, I knew it was going to be like a hit. And from everything I can see, it's gotten great reviews so far. So congrats to them. It definitely was fun for me to play over the weekend when I needed to, do something.
Sure.
So
I get it. So probably very exciting when you have a new game finally come out. It's like, oh, you can see the finish line, and you're doing all this work to get it out. And,
yep.
Hope to check it.
I think it really shows you just like how much work is involved in the polish too, because from the time, maybe it's just because I really wanted to play it, but from the time that the proof of concept he kind of like worked on, and got it out there and put it on itch.io to final product. It was a long time. There's a lot that goes into, taking a great idea and crafting it into something that, a large market would want to play.
Oh yeah.
So
it's very simple to have. Anyone can think of a game idea, and then even a lot of people can start to try to do it. But then it's like, okay, now I'm actually in here. How is this actually fun?
Right.
What is a user experience like?
And how do you polish it off? I'm the sort of person who, I can play a pretty rough around the edges game and still enjoy it as long as the central idea is sound. But yeah, so many people expect, a shiny package, and a lot of work goes into that.
Yeah. What else has happened? And I am a third of the way through the final season of Knight Rider.
Season 4, things are getting dicier.
Just because, like, season 3 was pretty positive in terms of, this is some interesting stuff going on here. I mean, how do you expand upon the concept of talking car, year after year? But it was a super popular show the first few years. There was some toys. I looked it up on eBay last night. I was talking to Andre. There was not an action figure line. They had one toy that it talked, and it came with Michael Knight. You can buy a Michael Knight separately. Michael Knight's actually not worth out really anything. Like $20 you can get one, just a 3 3/4 sort of size, or 4-inch figure, or 5-inch figure. But there was no like toy line. There was no Devin Miles, old British guy figure. There wasn't Bonnie, the mechanic figure. There wasn't villains and things like that. Like A-Team had whole figure lines. They had 3 3/4 and they had 6-inch figures. They had the bigger ones as well. They didn't have that for that, maybe because it was more geared towards adults. Maybe kids were into it, but they had like little die cast. I had a die cast car from a from a flea market, things like that. I think they had like the stunt set. I think they had like they might have had like a electric car set, like where you had a little trigger and go around the track, but with Knight Rider. But there wasn't a lot of stuff. I don't remember seeing anything as a kid, because I was too young, because the show was done by '86. That was it.
Yeah, I don't remember anything either. And same thing as you. That show, in terms of my memories,
Reruns.
Predates me just a little bit. But yeah, I saw it in reruns and syndication. That was where I got used to it.
What's a rerun? You'll find out. What else is happening here? Went to the flea market. I returned to the flea market. I haven't gone to the flea market. It's not even, is it once a quarter I go? Once every 4 months? I think I went earlier this year.
I would say probably about that.
And it was on a whim. And I got up at 8 o'clock and I'm like, I'm going to go. Usually if I get up at 6:30, I would get there at 7. And I probably would have found some stuff, maybe. Not really game related. The game stuff is slim pickings. I found a lot of 70s toys. Follow me on Twitter at @PatTheNASPunk. I do threads when I go nowadays if I'm not filming, obviously. Because if I filmed, I find nothing that I actually buy. I find cool stuff like, oh, here's Ultima 1. And pal Derek, who sells there, wanted $1,200 for it. If I was saying, Derek, no one's bringing $1,200 in cash to the
flea market. Like, no. What are you fucking doing?
You're lucky you find someone who gets $120 in their wallet, let alone $1,200.
Yeah, you don't take that. At that point, it's just it's not to sound silly, but it's the pollution of the very idea of a flea market. Flea markets are supposed to be cheap places to go and buy stuff, and it's absolutely not a place where you go to make a fucking centerpiece purchase for your video game collection. Like that's weird. It doesn't. Like you said, who's bringing that kind of money to the flea market? Who even goes to the flea market expecting to find something like that?
I mean, he usually had good stuff. I bought PC games with him before, but here's the thing: I don't keep up with the track of these. I actually own that game. Sure. I think he had the IBM one. I think the Apple II one. They're the same feelies, the same exact stuff. It's just the disc. It's a different sticker on the front of the box, and the disc is obviously different for the game. But most collectors don't care about that when it comes to that. And I thought he said $12 at first. I felt awful because he was like, "Oh, $12? Okay, I'll pick that." Then he said $1,200. I was like, "Oh." In my head, I should have said, "There's no way it's only $12. He would know better." But but he did give me some decent deals and stuff before. But I thought maybe it's worth $120, and maybe he. Whatever. I felt stupid because oh, but here's my wallet. It's like that scene in Lethal Weapon at the beginning when you ever see Lethal Weapon?
No, I've never seen it.
It's a Christmas movie. Again, another Shane Black. He writes all this stuff to take place during Christmas, but it's not a Christmas movie, but it is. So he's undercover. Martin Riggs, played by Mel Gibson, and he goes to buy drugs. He's undercover. He's going to buy cocaine, and he goes to this, like, it's a Christmas. These guys are selling out of this Christmas tree lot. And the guy goes, how much for all this? He does a sample. He goes, how much for this? And he goes, oh, it's 80. And he's like, oh, okay. And he starts pulling out his wallet. He's, oh, 20, 40. But he doesn't realize it's like 10 times that amount, or whatever. Right. He gets the numbers wrong. So I felt the same way. I was like, oh, I feel like a fucking idiot. I'm pulling out my wallet and like going through it. And then obviously it ends in gunfire and fun at the beginning of the
gunfire and fun.
Yeah, I love Lethal Weapon. Didn't affect me at all watching that at VHS constantly. Great fight. I know he's in trouble now for shenanigans. Gary Busey. Gary Busey's a menace in that movie. He is a fucking psycho. I mean, real life he's a psycho, but he's a psychopath in Lethal Weapon. Yep. He is scary.
Busey is just... He recently just got arrested for something, and it was strange.
Yeah, he got in trouble for like it was like some sort of sexual harassment of like attendees at an expo or something. That's why he was in the news for, or something like that.
Gary Busey pulls pants down in public after sex crimes charges. That is 22 That's 22 hours ago.
Okay, that sounds okay. I didn't keep up with that, but check out Lethal Weapon. It's the pinnacle of the buddy cop movie. It perfected it. Sure. And the hand-to-hand combat in that movie, particularly the last scene between Riggs and Gary Busey's character, For 87, the choreography is pretty fucking good. They're like grappling a little bit. They're doing like trying to do like submissions and stuff on each other. It's pretty rough and tumble. And for an 80s movie, the fighting is pretty damn good for a movie like that. And Gibson can scrap. You know, he was in really good shape in those movies there. Great movie. Danny Glover, fucking go see. And of course, the great Richard Donner directed those movies, of course. Rest in peace, Dick Donner.
Dick Donner.
Yeah. What was I talking about? Oh, Embracer Group just bought up everything.
I mean, that's not news. But they continue. Well, yes, they continue to steamroll over everything and own everything. Embracer Group acquires limited run games. And they also acquired the Lord of the Rings rights recently as well, which
I don't know sure how that works because Amazon's doing the show, but I guess that means maybe that like the Lord of the Rings, like I don't know for future stuff, but that means they can do stuff based on Lord of the Rings. That's amazing. How much was it worth? It's funny that I never really heard of Embracer Group until the past year, and now they're just coming up everywhere. What's your initial thoughts on this acquisition here?
I mean, I am happy to know that the employees have been taken care of. You know, I heard that. I heard, you know, limited run throughout the whole thing was, you know, extremely open and transparent. So that's great to know. I feel like limited run was at a point where a buyout was absolutely possible. They grew hugely over the past few years. I have no idea what that will really mean for limited run going forward. I don't know that it's going to change a whole lot. The only thing that I could see potentially happening, which would be odd because, you know, the name is Limited Run Games, I could see there being a lot. I could see production increasing in certain areas. You know, they got into stores with the Best Buy stuff they were doing for a while. I think they still are, where certain games got like, you know, a retail release from Best Buy. But I wonder if this means you'll see limited run products in more locations. I think, you know, in terms of what will be noticeable up front, I think it'll be a wider availability of limited run products. That's what I would have to guess.
Well, obviously Embracer want to push their stuff if they had, but Embracer Games, it sounds like they're buying up all the studios we can get into. That a lot of stuff probably is AAA, so there's physical games anyway. But obviously, if it's an Embracer game, there's going to be probably a limited run version, you know,
right?
Like that's. But for the most part, though, it looks like it's going to be run independently still. So that's the good news. But this also includes the purchase of their physical store, which I think is interesting. So because everything that's limited run. So that's what's interesting about this deal is that this big old company. That's why it does behoove them to let limited run independently operate still because they've been successful. And plus, it's almost like this company's so huge, it's like almost like to them it's not worth like meddling as long as it's profitable. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah, more of a hands-off approach.
Yeah, I haven't been able to talk to Josh since the acquisition. Obviously, we've known those folks. I've known Josh since almost the beginning of Limited Run. Talked to him, done calls with him, and it's interesting to see. It's only been 7 years.
I know that's the crazy thing. Like it feels like so much longer, but I mean, we had been doing the podcast for a little while before that was like
just 2 years
we brought up.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we brought up at Portland.
Kind of crazy
when they were doing their PSP Vita or PSP game.
Vita.
It was Vita. And then I remember I did like a God, we were using Skype still. That's how old it was. I did a Skype call with both of them just to, you know, inquire about how the business was running and things. And it was an interesting call, and it sort of helped inform me on some of the challenges they faced.
Holy shit, Skype.
Yeah, so I mean, so Skype. Doesn't anyone use Skype anymore? Like anyone? That buggy ass. You turn that program on, your computer grinds to a halt.
Yeah, it does. It's
awful,
miserable.
I've probably turned that Skype on 4 or 5 years at least. Anyway, so I'm really happy for all of them out there. They get a lot of heat from obviously people in the community, including people that run their own versions, a small version, limited run. I had to like kind of put one in their place at a convention where they were like bitching about limited run. Like not to me directly at another table. And I was like, I'm friends with, I said, I'm friends with Josh and people there So I'm just let you know. I said I try to say nice. I said you guys wouldn't be doing what you're doing if it wasn't for limited run, taking the huge risk they took in order to do this in the first place.
Sure, I understand a lot of people's initial issues with them, and I certainly was, I had issues with the very limited nature of their initial runs of stuff, like when it was Vita. But I think a lot of people still hold on to that grudge because I despite the name, a month-long pre-order window is, it's generous. It's they get the physical copies out there. They help developers. It's a net good. And I've said this before. No one likes anything limited, but it's because it's being talked about as limited that people get worked up. We talked about it before when Nintendo said they were going to limit the production of the Mario 3D collection. You don't want to ever hear that this stuff is going to be limited, but in reality, nothing ever gets printed into perpetuity. Anyways, everything has a print run or multiple print runs. I don't think it's as big of a deal as people make it out to be anymore.
Yeah. And one of the big things that they're in this press release that they focus on was the Carbon engine, which is somewhat newer in terms of a public space, where it's basically an internal developed proprietary thing that you can convert games from previous platforms to a modern game. And so that's a very interesting technology. And it looks like they did that. They used it. It wasn't, I think, publicly called Carbon engine yet. They'd use it with Shantae and Rivers City Girl Zero. So it's interesting that that's up front and center why Embracer Group, probably one of the reasons why they wanted to acquire them, besides obviously they're a profitable company that's making money hand over fist, and they have good relationships obviously with Disney properties and other groups. But no, it's interesting that they focus in on a Carbon engine. And if you take it at their face value, remember Embracer Group was talking about preservation months back. They want to get into preservation, so it's a marriage that makes sense as long as it's operated independently. They don't try to meddle. I think it'll be fine. But like I said, they also got Lord of the Rings rights. They acquired Singtrix. So I'm not familiar with that.
I don't even know what that is.
Singtrix LLC. It's a music gaming pioneer. They did MTV Drumscape in '96, and looks like done a bunch of some other stuff. They did that. Lord of the Rings, like you said, and Hobbit literary works. Okay. It's directly those books, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So the literary works. Okay. So they can then do another Lord of the Rings movie if they wanted to. Then they acquired Tuxedo Labs. I've heard the name.
Yeah, me too. But I can't remember exactly why.
It's in the thread here. Maybe it was a Saber 3 rooms. Trying to see what they came out with here. Founded in 2019 in Sweden, Tuxedo Labs has 16 members. They did Teardown. Have you heard of Teardown before?
No, I haven't. So maybe I'm just wrong.
Okay, so that sounds like a smaller company. And then they got Tripwire Interactive, which is a U.S. developer and publisher as well. It's been around since 2005. Killing Floor. 35 million players. Rising Storm.
Yep, I know Killing Floor.
Over 14 million players. And Maneater, over 16 million players. Are these free-to-play games?
No.
They're not? Okay.
No. Maneater was the game where you can play as a shark. That was really popular last year, like the year before. And Killing Floor is kind of like a Call of Duty Zombies. I think it's like one of those kind of endless team-based first-person shooters where you just wave-based, where you're fighting waves and waves of enemies.
They acquired a. This is, I guess, leads up to this. This Embracer Group is announcing their 11th operating group. This is a huge company. Embracer Free Mode, which focuses on retro/classic/heritage gaming and entertainment, game development, production, devices, gear, and collectibles. So that's probably one of the reasons they wanted to get limited run. They want to get more into that sort of scene.
Right.
So they're going to marry all this stuff together. All right. And there's more. They acquired 3 other places, but okay. I mean, it's came out with a bang all a few days ago on the 17th. They did that. Our pal Howard Scott Warshaw.
Yeah.
Did an interview with IGN. I read through some of it. I didn't read through all of it. It's a nice little article. Howard it looks like, has another book coming out. We talked about the book came out. God, was that 2 years ago? The book came out.
Yeah, I think it probably was at this point.
About his life. This one is more about time at Atari, called Once Upon Atari. According to this IGN article, written by Rebecca Valentine. It's a cautionary tale of the perils of crunch, the advent of new game design ideas, an industry-shaking crash, and the necessary inevitable movement of game creation from its formative Wild West years to the much larger collaborative efforts we see today. And I guess through, Howard's eyes, you can basically see that happen.
Right.
Because he was at Atari, at the not the beginning, but almost just about.
1981 was when he joined, and he said he enjoyed it because it was the technical challenges were much bigger than they were at Hewlett Packard, and he enjoyed that. But yeah, I kind of thought he was there in 80. I thought it was a little bit earlier, but 81.
But you still have, this is still when Warner bought it, so it's like this is not the original Atari,
right?
But it's still like, it's pretty loosey goosey to an extent. You have most of these games are still like one person working on a game or two. He always did Raiders of the Lost Ark, so he had a relationship with Spielberg to some extent at that point, and he did Yar's Revenge. And so this is going to probably go into more detail about E.T. And this article talks about the awkward conversation where he flew out to talk to Spielberg, which he's brought up in video game years about.
Yeah.
Spielberg basically said, why don't you make something like Pac-Man? And it's like, I have like 5 weeks to do this game. Like, I can't make a Pac-Man game.
Yeah, I always thought it was 6 weeks, but I'm reading the article now and it's 5, which makes it even more heroic.
Give him 7 or 8; it doesn't matter. Like, it's an insane amount of time to put together a functional game. Yeah. You may not like it, but it's a functional game that he didn't do 100% of it. He didn't do the art and all the sound, but just to do the programming, this was not just like taking a pre-existing game and just putting graphics over it, which looking back probably would have been a much more successful game if they just found another game and just put ET graphics on top. It probably would have worked out better. I check out the article. When does this book does this article say when the book is coming out? I'm gonna look that up. Once Upon Atari, How I Made History by Killing an Industry. It's out now. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Oh, wait, that is the same book. Why did it say it's a new book? That's the one we talked about before. That came out in 2020, end of 2020. Why does this article make it seem like there's another book coming out? I mean, they just talked to them about it finally. Okay, that's
maybe. The world's been kind of weird, I guess.
Yeah, it was posted August 17th and updated. Okay, well then check out the book that we talked about before. I thought there was a second book.
It's fine. We like to talk about Howard.
I like to talk about Howard. It's nice to talk to a guy who's helping out people. Really nice dude. He takes it in stride when people say, you helped kill, the video game industry, and he's very gracious when he comes out to events still like Portland. The ones I try to.
I don't think I've ever met him in person, but he always seems like a swell guy.
Talked to him a few times. I first met him on the set of the AVGN movie, which was holy shit, 10 years ago.
Jesus.
That filming in the desert-ish scene was 10 years ago when I still had short hair. That's how I tell time. Quitting my job in the hair. That was both 2012 where it transitioned.
Where you can't get a haircut, but you can get a lot of other things?
Where, Ian?
UltimateNintendo.com. You can get not for resale.
Blu-ray. You can get the books. You can get the enamel pins. With my scruffy hair on, and Ian's scruffy hair and beard on one of them, and just my hair on the other. RBI baseball stickers out the wazoo. They're popular with the kids. The RBI baseball stickers, absolutely. They sell every week. They sell out at the conventions usually. And T-shirts, limited T-shirt, we're blowing out. If you're size small, well, we got the shirt for you. The limited shirt's only $10. Size small.
If you're a small framed fan, now is the time for you to shine.
You got a medium-sized,
brand new T-shirt,
medium-sized dog that we cut out, make it a sweater for the pooch. Because a large-sized dog, it probably won't fit in that shirt, but it could at ultimatenintendo.com. I'll be on Twitch every Wednesday. It's one of the highlights of my week, to be honest. It's actually like kind of distresses me from Tuesdays. It's twitch.tv/ContraCode, watching 70s, 80s, 90s commercials. And then Cameo, if you want a Cameo shout out, cameo.com/Pat Contra. Speaking of shears, Ian, you still have my mini scissors. Thank God. We never told the whole story. I was freaking out packing up because I had the scissors. I have these scissors that I got.
The perfect pair of scissors for cutting those labels.
And for beards and for eyebrows. Because they're not sharp edges. They're blunt edges. So, right. Like, because you can buy... I went to the dollar store again. I got that at the dollar. That was part, Ian, of a 2-pack. I found it on Amazon. That was part of a 2-pack beard grooming set that I found at the dollar store, where you got the brush, you got a little brush, and you got the shears, right? So I said, oh my God, that's perfect for eyebrows. I need it for my eyebrows. My eyebrows grow like wild, like weeds. You think my hair grows like weeds? The eyebrows, I got to trim them every week, you know? So, but they're also the perfect size for cutting RBI baseball stickers. And if I leave in my backpack by accident, or as Ian did, TSA did not catch those scissors because he didn't know he was carrying them. They're not sharp anyway, because you can buy mini scissors, but they're super sharp usually, the little mini ones. They're super sharp. I don't want that around my eyes. I don't. No. So yeah, I was freaking out. I lost them. I must have dropped them, and you said in your bag, but you got them back for me. So I need those back, damn it. Those are like essential. I might buy a backup pair, but that's one of the reasons I went to the dollar store, Ian, was try to find a replacement pair, see if they had. But no, they had a 3-pack set. If you want to get stuff for taking care of stuff, they had a 3-pack, nail clipper, tweezer, and little mini scissors for $1.25. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. I almost feel like wholesaling from dollar store and selling on my website, ultimatenintendo.com, and selling those things.
drop ship scissors.
I mean, because that stuff you on Amazon, that stuff's like $7-8 to get that same sort of stuff, and it's $1.25. And it was a real brand. I forget the brand name, but I was happy and I bought that. But I did not find the exact set that you have. There, I did not. You know what makes me happy, Ian? Gimmick.
Gimmick does. Gimmick makes you happy.
Gimmick makes you happy. Where is the Gimmick plush toy? I am 8-bit. I told you that 3 years ago when you started selling the soundtrack. I said plush would sell like wildfire. It would. Licensed Gimmick plush, because it's a fucking plush. It's a toy plush. You make a plush.
He's a toy.
It's a toy. Come on.
Do it. It makes sense.
So there was a Sunsoft event, Ian. We'll use that very lightly. The word event.
Yeah, there was an event. It was a lean and mean 8 minutes.
The same way my lunch every day is an event.
Right. But hey, Sunsoft is back and we're happy. We're happy for them.
Did they ever go away?
I'm not sure that they ever really did. This is just, kind of like hey, we're still here. And they announced a few games. One of them is a re-release of Mr. Gimmick. Probably at this point, it wasn't always their best known property, but at this point, it's probably their most famous. It's gotten pretty damn popular.
Batman's probably still their, Batman or probably the Super Nintendo games, maybe. But people don't realize that like something like Death Valley Rally is probably a Sunsoft game. All right, it's good.
So they are bringing back Gimmick. It's getting released on, I think it's the Switch, PlayStation, Microsoft PC, everything. And they are also announcing Euphoria is getting a release as well. Both of those were released in Sweden?
Scandinavia area, yeah.
Scandinavia area, but never made it over here. So it's the regular game with a bunch of extra features. Well, obviously there's some emulation features. There's like the rewind stuff. There's a speed mode. There's a normal mode. You can rewind and go forward. So let me tell you, Gimmick's a tough game, especially if you're going to get each stage has its own special secret item that if you do not get it, you cannot possibly get the good ending to the game. You get the melancholy ending. So there's actually, multiple endings for an NES game is pretty rare. There's not a lot where that actually happened. So that was a cool thing. And I, to this day, there's the one secret item I forget. I don't think it's the last one. I think it's the second to last secret item I never was able to get on actual hardware without save stating it 1,000 times. There's one. The first few are gettable for me fairly easily, but then there's a couple that are tough on that. And it's an incredible game. It's great. Let's talk about this presentation.
It's a VTuber presentation.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the rage. Little weird. It says it's a person that's running the Twitter account. Who knows? And the person behind Sunsoft and the Twitter account, Sunsoft Games. And then so there's Euphoria is not as well known as Gimmick, but it's the same sort of graphics style. You have cute sort of like animal like little puppy characters. That one's there's like different items and stuff as well. And then there's a third game they put on here, Ian, that I have not heard of.
Iki Unite. So now that I've read about it more, I do recall it. The original is known to be like one of the worst games on the Famicom. It was kind of this Games Press article says that it was notorious for coining the the term kusoge or crap game.
Okay.
But now Iki Unite is supposed to basically realize the developer's original vision, and it's a multiplayer co-op roguelike in that players team up in large or small groups to battle a feudal overlord. That actually sounds really interesting to me, and I definitely want to check that out.
And it has more of a modern graphic style.
Yes, yeah, this is more of like a modern game, whereas Gimmick and Euphoria, as far as I can tell, are basically just getting...
They're NES games.
They're direct ports with additional stuff.
Someone had surmised that maybe... oh, by the way, we talk about the... where's the captions on this? They're going to do a vinyl and cassette of the music for Michigan.
Ship to Shore is doing that. I'm really, really, really looking forward to it. They're using the same artist that they used for the Mega Man Legends vinyl. It's going to look awesome.
I don't usually collect this stuff. I think the cassette looks adorable, and Gimmick, we'll call it Gimmick Green. If you see that, it's about 6 minutes into it. And the soundtrack is obviously amazing. So if you want to just get it to listen to, and so I don't know much about Euphoria's music. I'm not as familiar with the game. If that'd be worth no soundtrack there. Can we do a plush? Can we do a plush, please? Please. Gimmick plush. I'd be sitting behind me forever. I'd be cuddling with it. I mean, honestly, you can do all the characters are all the enemies are toys. All the main enemies, all the bosses, and one of the sub bosses. So you could do those as well. So, all right. Well, here's the Sunsoft doing something. Some people were surmising that the arcade release was going to be, they're going to do something with that as well.
Yeah, I would like to see it, but I feel like now I can't even remember what the hell that system is called. It's right on the tip of my tongue. I feel like those probably have locked up exclusivity deals because they're expensive to buy the boards for, and you can't make like an expensive board and then immediately release the game because the people the XXA Arcadia or whatever.
Yeah, because that's still technically, I guess, a new product. That's only been out. It's only been out. Looks like a couple of years.
Right, and I mean, if people are just getting them, and these are like, I think they're like $2,000, $3,000 boards,
$1,200.
You're not going to release that. Yeah,
$1,200, $1,216 according to.
Okay, that's cheaper than it was when I first checked, so that's good.
So I mean, like, yeah, I can sort of see that. I would love to see this somewhere, like in even like a Japanese arcade or a round one. By the way, we're getting a round one in San Diego. There's one in development. I'm so excited, Ian.
Oh, nice.
National City's going to have one. I guess is there a mall in National City? I just as an aside, I think that's
yeah, I think there is.
Well, I'll let you get another pack of Starbucks because I kept my card and did not. I'm guessing the points work at every round one. It would make sense, like a Dave and Buster's. If you've never been to a round one, imagine a Dave and Buster's, but enjoyable and has stuff you actually want to play. Like that's a round one.
Yeah, their pinball was expensive and not well maintained, but
okay. Besides that,
neat.
The other 98% of the place, the best redemption games. They have good arcade games. They have all the top end stuff there. Love that Konami Marble game.
I do want to go back to one just because I really want to play that weird Pac-Man pinball looking game that was out of order when we were there, unfortunately.
Yeah, right up front. Hasbro plans to make a lot more video games. They own the rights to, obviously, Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, Transformers, and G.I. Joe, which doesn't even get a mention in the front of this article, which shows you how much G.I. Joe has fallen in stature. It doesn't get a fucking mention. D&D gets a mention, but not G.I. Joe in this article? Okay.
D&D is the fucking hot shit right now, man.
Should have been me. So, I mean, they came out with the G.I. Joe game last year that no one cared about, the third-person shooter game. Didn't look terrible. I had zero
wasn't
interest
it
in
like a battle royale type game or something like that?
No, there was missions. There was single player missions, I believe, but it looked just like, okay, this is okay. There was like, I think 4 or 5 different Joes you can be, I believe. But if I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't want to do it. There's an arcade G.I. Joe game no one ever talks about, right? It's pretty damn good. Can someone re-release that? That's like it's never been released anywhere. Can we get that somewhere, please? You almost never see that arcade game. It's great. Third-person shooter. Early third-person shooter.
Okay, yeah, I was about to be like, I think I've actually played this before.
It's amazing. It's really fun. It has scaling graphics.
Yeah.
There's 4 players on it. I think it's Duke, Rock and Roll, Scarlet, and Snake Eyes, I believe, are the 4. I don't know why Rock and Roll gets all. I mean, they try to pump up Rock and Roll. No one ever cared about Rock and Roll, but whatever. He was an original figure, and they re-released him a couple times. Anyway, was it Rock and Roll? So they're trying to. Okay, they're going to do 6 video game studios and working on many unannounced projects. There's an unnamed studio. Why is it unnamed? I guess it's a secret still. And there's one in Eastgate, Washington. Led by ex-Bungie developer Leia Hoyer. Okay, they're gonna come out with stuff. That's the bottom line. They have the rights to. I remember they have all the board games. They have Scrabble.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate. They got. I don't know. I'm not gonna get my hopes up for a good G.I. Joe game. But honestly, you re-release the freaking do a re-release pack of the Commodore 64 game that I remember playing at. Remember that game? That was a decent game. Come out with the fucking Atari game that was crap. Come out with the decent Commodore game with different play modes. Come out with the arcade game. Come out with the 2 NES games. There was no G.I. Joe games in the 16-bit era. Really, I'm trying to think. Like, my God. I mean, it was dead by the early to mid 90s. It was.
There's none.
There's none.
I'm looking at the Apple II game, which is probably the same as
thing.
It
was a fun game. It was actually a fun game. There was like different
epics too.
Yeah. No, I own it. I own that in the box. I think it's somewhat tough to find in the box. I mean, because no one bought it. Yeah. Just come out with those games and I'll be happy, Hasbro. Come out with that. Gamer Rage is real. You just saw it. I was complaining about G.I. Joe stuff. So this article is from Eric Griffith of Good Old PC Mag. Good Old PC Mag. It's been around forever.
So there's a handy infographic at the top here.
What do I like an infographic?
How often do you feel extreme anger while gaming? And across the top, going to the right, you have Xbox, PlayStation, PC, Switch, and phone tablet. And then going down, you have rarely, once per week, daily, or more. And if you just look at the daily or more, this doesn't strike me as a surprise. The Xbox had a response of 21.3% of gamers felt angry about video games every day.
Extreme anger. I wonder how that's qualified. Like, do you like go? Do you like throw? Like, what is extreme anger? Like, do you like want to hurt someone? Like,
right.
So
no idea.
So if you know anything about statistics, there's something called significant difference, and I have to see what the sample size were and run the ANOVA. But 21 versus 12% would seem to be significant, because that's what PlayStation is, 12.4%. PC is only 14% in that range. Switch is 10.5%. We're more well balanced on the Switch. You're playing Animal Crossing, you're not going to get pissed off. And then the phone or tablet, this tracks 8%, because you're on a phone or tablet, you're relaxing. You don't want to get extreme anger when you're on the crapper. That's not what you want to do when you're playing your games on there or just watching TV. They're more laid back, the quote unquote casual game. So what is it about Xbox versus Sony where the difference is? Is that a meme, or is that like, what is that, you think?
I honestly just feel like it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. In the 360 era, it was known for being the hardcore system that you played your online shooters on. And I think that kind of held over, in the Xbox One era. So I feel like that the people who gravitate towards an Xbox and are playing online are probably, I don't know, playing more for keeps, I guess. They take it more seriously.
Sure.
I think it's less on the PlayStation, because I think the PlayStation probably has a larger, like a broader user base, so maybe you don't get quite as much concentration of people who take their games really seriously.
It's 1,045
Switch
gamers.
I think it's right. I think you're right with Switch. in terms of the extreme anger, because a lot of the games that you play on the Switch are not, you know, there's fast-paced competitive games on the Switch, but a lot of them are, you know, a bit slower, a bit more adventure-y, a bit more take this at your own speed.
Adventure-y. This is the population here. 1,045 U.S. gamers, average age of 28.6, who game a minimum of 4 hours per week. The average was 15 hours. 15, okay, so like a couple hours a day. It found that the game franchise that angers them the most is Call of Duty, 23.5%.
Okay, so yeah, without even reading this, that's exactly what I was thinking. I feel like a lot of the people who play Call of Duty a lot, that's more likely to be an Xbox player, and here we are. Call of Duty is the game that's causing the most anger.
What drives people to such destructive extremes? The survey asked whether people had broken things while in a game rage, and almost 1 in 5 said yes. We are an angry, sad population, if that's true. 20% of people are breaking stuff when the average age is 28 years old. The object most broken is the controller or keyboard / mouse, of course, at a whopping 73%. So I'm sorry for your controller or mouse. Don't stand near a wall if you're if your local gamer is irate. The next broken, even ahead of a TV monitor, 6.6%, is the household drywall at nearly 16%.
Jesus.
And 25.5% have lashed out at loved ones when in a rage.
Probably. You ever know those rage heads? I was friends with one. He was one of my closest friends growing up. I knew him from like the time I was 5 until, you know, we kind of fell out and lost touch. Never had like a falling out, but we lost touch probably about 5 years ago. And he was one of those dudes who would just get fucking pissed about shit and put a hole in the wall. And it's like, no one thinks you're fucking tough, man.
Yeah, I did that when I was 15 and lashing out.
Right.
Yeah, in puberty, you know, because I was pissed. But once you become an adult, no, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be hitting walls with things.
Adults who punch walls, not a cool thing.
No, go. Wow. When I hear that and I see these, this could be a whole main topic we wanted to. When I see once per week, across the board, at least once per week, if you combine them, if you're an Xbox gamer, at least once per week or daily, you combine the both Pat math. That's like 60%. 60% of an Xbox gamer is extremely angry while gaming at least once per week. That is nuts to me when I see that. Extreme anger once a week you're experiencing because of a video game console.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing to me. You know, I say it a lot, and I'm not trying to like rub it in people's face, but games make me happy. I play video games because I need an escape from bullshit. If video games made me extremely angry, I would simply not play them.
Yeah. Like even the Switch though on here, you have once per week, 43%. That seems high to me. I guess what you lose a Mario Kart, you get super pissed off, but like there's a difference between getting upset, angry, extreme anger. I need to see the actual how they define extreme anger. Like how is that actually defined in the study?
Yeah.
But that's insane to me. So what makes you extremely angry when gaming? 60.7% repeatedly losing at the same level. 43% other player using hacks, cheats. I get that. I would stop playing a game if there was too many cheaters. But maybe if you paid the money for the game.
Sure, but I mean, cheaters and stuff like that, that's on someone else. That's not on you.
This next one, I don't believe that 43% says they're extremely angry at game bugs. At game bugs? Like, besides like, you know, Cyberpunk, what games coming out have those extreme bugs that like break the game that badly? But okay. 40% griefers and 22% campers. So obviously when you see campers, that's a lot of obviously first-person
person stuff.
Obviously with hacks and cheats, that's going to be a lot of first-person shooters as well, or third-person shooter. I don't know if there's a lot of cheaters in like stuff like Fortnite or they have that stamped out. I have no idea. And then what games or franchise causes you the most anger? Call of Duty, 23.5%. Mario Kart, 22%. Wow.
Wow.
I thought that's a chill, laid back game. I mean, when I lose a race, I'm not happy, but I was like, okay, I lost a race. It's still a fun game. Minecraft, 21%. Minecraft? Really? League of Legends, 20%. Smash Brothers Ultimate, about 20%.
Sure.
And then GTA, 19%. So there's your game. So if you're angry playing the Switch, it's most likely Mario Kart or Smash.
I mean, Mario Kart has got some fucking bullshit, but I mean, the bullshit is also, again, like I said, part of why I play it. I mean, I go, God damn, or fuck, or, but I'm not like,
that's part of the experience.
mad.
You're going to lose it.
I'm not mad.
You're going to be wiped out within seconds of winning a race. Like, that's what's going to happen. Yeah. That's going to happen. That's part of, but you're going to wipe someone else out. I've wiped people out within, and come from behind victory. Like, that's part of the experience. Yep. That's why it's not a straight racing game. It's a party racing game.
When you play it as a straight racing game, you realize how badly it's broken as a straight racing game.
Exactly. I don't. It's the same way I don't want to play Smash Bros. Without items. I don't. Then play Street Fighter 2. Like,
right.
That's
sure.
You're taking the fun out of it. It's goofy. Sony's being sued for $5 billion.
Jesus, Sony. Is
it justified?
Yeah. So they're being sued $5 billion.
From $5 billion
pounds. So this is by Ryan Dinsdale coming from IGN. Sony is being sued for $5.9 billion US dollars.
Hey, we're caught up. The dollar's caught up.
Huh?
The dollar's caught up over the years. Yeah.
Jeez. Over the price of its online PlayStation Store prices, with the plaintiff claiming Sony is overcharging consumers and abusing its position as the primary seller of PlayStation games digitally. So this is basically about, how Sony controls the market within their online store, because there is no choice. You can't shop around. It's not like going out and buying a physical game where you can be like, well, see if Target's got it or maybe GameStop's got it used or something like that. This is about them controlling the prices and keeping games that, even maybe brand new in stores at $19.99 because they've been out for a while, they'll often still charge, $60. They'll charge the full price for the game. On the online store, where they've got you, as a captive audience.
This is filed by consumer rights advocate Alex Neal, the ex-managing director of a nonprofit consumer advice organization, which is leading the legal action. It says the game is up for Sony PlayStation. Filed with the Competition Appeal Tribunal. Man, everything sounds fancier over there versus here. We don't have a appeal tribunal over here. They don't have any tribunals, I think. States that consumers have been overcharged for digital purchases of games and DLC, as Sony is charging a 30% commission. So the argument is that, like, if you're a company, you're forced to charge more to make up that commission. And there is something to be said for that. We talked about how, Microsoft's been lowering it because Epic Games originally lowered it. 30% was established by Apple, way back in the day. And I guess Microsoft did something similar in the Xbox store. And it's just an arbitrary number, 30%. Me personally, I think that's way too much.
I think that's insane.
If you told me, hey, Pat, 15-20%, okay, that's fine. And so obviously, in people and organizations, the fact that they're lowering it means that, okay, we're obviously making a good profit margin still. It's just that 30% is just arbitrary and existed. So this is similar to, I think Apple was taking the core of this as well, because Apple sells the devices like Sony sells the consoles, but then they also run the store, and then the only game in town to buy. If you're going to buy a Sony digital, game, you're most likely to buy it at a Sony store.
Right.
That's what's in front of you. And they set the prices. There's not really competition. That's the argument. We'll see what happens. Obviously, if they broke that would be big news, big news. The quote here, we believe Sony has abused its position and ripped off its customers. I don't know. We'll see how far this gets.
Yeah, I honestly don't think it's going to get very far, but it's still interesting to see it brought up.
And the value comes from the estimated damages per individual over the last 6 years, since it's been out, the console, I guess that's where it's coming from, range from around $79 to $664, excluding interest. So I guess the argument is, well, if Sony's more competitive and, in games would be cheaper if they weren't taking a big of a cut, this is how much more consumers are spending because they have a monopoly.
Right.
So, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I'm interested. Obviously, this stuff, it seems like consumer protection seems to be somewhat stronger in Europe.
Yeah, people can definitely tell us if we're wrong on that, but that's always been my kind of take on it, is that at least superficially, at the very least, it looks stronger.
Sure. Ian, what's going on with your Sega over here with the movies? What is this? What's happening here, buddy? What is this?
So Sega has said that they would like to start doing more movies, more video game movies.
Sure.
And they have announced that they are doing a Comics Zone and Space Channel 5 movie. We'll see if we ever get these. Space Channel 5, I think, actually has an interesting enough setting and story. I mean, the game's about pirate radio stations in space and an alien invasion. And I think you could actually probably, if it's stylish enough,
probably, yes.
Yeah. I think it would, be something that could be fun. Comic Zone is, I have no idea why they're dragging up Comic Zone. I mean, an interesting action game from the Genesis that really wasn't great, about a guy with a very 90s long, slim, blonde ponytail and sunglasses fighting his way through comics. We have so many fucking superhero movies that I think one about a generic guy in I just seems like a bad idea. Seems like a bad idea.
They're sucked into the age of the comics. That's such a trope. That was done on Noctropolis back in the day.
Yeah,
these movies are not happening. No. If you told me, okay, maybe we'll do like a Space Channel 5, like little animated thing, little short film, then okay, that's a cool idea. No one knows, no one knows these properties by and large. Like no one knows these. Like these like the reason they're called obscure is because they are. So I mean, like these will not be movies that you will see. I will bet money on you will not see these movies made.
Well, I mean, this happened. This has been the case for so many things that we've talked about over the years. Is
the Pong movie, Tetris movie,
Tetris movie. Yeah, all these movies. People are like, yeah, it's absolutely in the works. No, it's fucking not. No, it's not. Like I said, I do think Space Channel 5 on the surface would be interesting enough for one, but it's not going to get made.
That's a dancing game, isn't it?
Like I said, there's a story and a world to it, though. I mean, they fleshed it out pretty good.
Okay, it's interesting enough.
I'm saying you could. I have no idea how you would make a Comic Zone movie. I have no idea how you would make a Tetris movie. I have no idea how you would.
Well, no, Comic Zone movies. You beat up thugs. Sure. in the comic, like that you can make a movie about. It just would be a very generic, like boring ass movie. Like it's basically it.
Yeah. So
do your Streets of Rage movie instead.
We're never going to see these.
Are they doing a Streets of Rage movie? Did they talk about that?
No.
Wouldn't that make more sense? I
mean,
when you're talking about popular Sega franchises, I mean, that would be top 5 or 6, right? Wouldn't that make more sense? 6 or 7?
Yeah, I would think so. I think that would make more sense. Sure.
Or you can just watch Streets of Fire to get both Final Fight and Streets of Rage all in one.
You can get it all in.
Have you seen that yet, by the way?
No, I haven't.
Damn it, Ian, it might not be on Netflix anymore. You have to see that movie. It's such a weird ass, interesting movie. Is it on Netflix? I think it's still on Netflix. It is. It was as of last year. So you get in early, Ian. Get in early.